have a confession. We've never watched Lost.
Now, we're tired of hearing about it, so we're finally watching the hit TV show for the first time.
Come along with us to the island.
And please stay close by because
We're so lost.
We need to find out who did this to her. We're also rewatching the classic ABC TV series Lost. I'm Bill Meeks. I'm Bill Meeks. And we're back for another rousing edition, almost halfway through the season.
Very rousing.
Yes, almost halfway through the season.
Wow.
I know, it's incredible.
That kind of flew.
I know, it's been going crazy.
It's amazing what happens when for a while you're doing 2 and 3 episodes a week.
Mm-hmm. But as always, we're also joined by our chat room. Right now it's just Michael Lucero in there. Hi, Michael Lucero.
Yourself.
But we love you over at live.universebox.com. We kind of change up the nights that we record this thing.
It depends on what's happening in the rest of the world.
It's been floating Wednesday or Thursday p.m. Or at 8:30
p.m. Only in the p.m.
At 8:30 p.m. EST at live.universebox.com. Keep an eye out on our Twitter. At We're So Lost, and our Facebook, which is facebook.com/We're So Lost, I think.
True story.
And we always announce it the day of or the day before, depending.
Yep.
So you can keep an eye out there. Anne-Marie, why don't you tell them our spoiler policy, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Okay. Hi, our spoiler policy. Typically with our shows, we do love spoilers. We find them fun. We find them entertaining. But with Lost, since the entire series is over and almost anything is a spoiler, please be selective with what you share with us. We only want to know or have chit-chat about things that have happened through the episode that we are currently reviewing. Mm-hmm. So if you send in any feedback, please clearly label what episode it belongs with in the title.
Yeah, and just you can tell us like rough things like, oh, you will get an answer.
You'll get
to
an
this
answer to that
eventually, or you will see this character again. That kind of stuff. That's fine.
Please don't give us a time stamp for a specific episode as to when
or
we
be
will
like,
feel.
You will see Sayid, and he will be a mutant with 2 giant claws.
Lobster man.
Yeah, exactly.
No lobster man.
And I will say that Michael over in the chat room has said that halfway through and it feels like the story hasn't even started yet.
Well, to him, it hasn't because there's, 5 other seasons?
Yeah.
That he has memorized verbatim.
They a long way to go in this We're So Lost experiment. But why don't we go ahead and get started talking about Season 1, Episode 10. Anne-Marie, why don't you do the honors?
Claire Littleton is hopelessly preggers. A midnight attack turns Hurley named beggars. Charlie discovers a single mom kink. Sayid returns from beyond the brink. Will our young Belle become a new mother? Ethan's true nature is raised by another.
Raised by another?
Stop it.
Anne-Marie, what'd you think?
I kind of loved it. I've been waiting for this episode because I love Emily DeRaven and I don't understand the pregnant character on how she's not more important.
Yeah, and this was a very Claire-centric episode.
This was Claire.
This was Claire, the episode. So of course,
even the parts that weren't about Claire ended up being about Claire.
A bit. And I have some theories on even the parts that weren't about Claire. It all were about Claire.
Interesting.
So obviously we're going to start off talking about Claire. Not really.
Not really, actually.
What we're actually going to start talking about is the big cliffhanger at the end, which always seems to be our first point. And that's Ethan wasn't on the plane.
What?
I know.
He wasn't on the plane?
I know. It's insane. Ethan, no plane.
Ethan, no plane.
Ethan, no plane. It is insane. Okay, so this dude, this weird guy.
Creepy. Okay, he was creepy when he went hunting with... Sorry.
It's okay.
With,
Locke. Yeah.
I was like, that guy...
Definitely. But this episode, he almost seemed kind of normal right up until the end.
Really?
Maybe a little bit with Hurley. He was a little suspicious, but
especially once Hurley's asking him his. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
No.
Especially when Hurley was what?
Asking about his information and why he needed to know it.
Yeah, he was like, "Why do you need to know that?"
Yeah, just tracking people down.
Little shady. But obviously, this dude is not actually Ethan, or who he says he is. Like, I don't, because, I would assume he's going under an assumed name at this point because he's lying to the group about being part of the group. So I'm assuming he picked a assumed name, or at least he's not who he told Hurley he was. So if he's not the dude we thought he was, then who is he? like I said, we said, he was super crazy after seeming, I thought pleasant the whole episode. So my big thing is, do you think he's the person who attacked Claire in her sleep?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Did you see the way she looked at him at the end? Mm-hmm. She recognized him.
Well, and there was some good evidence for that because he was right there when she started screaming, which pretty suspicious. By the way,
yeah,
those screams. I was rewatching this on headphones. Actually, I might have watched it both times on headphones, but yeah, those screams. I had to like pull the headphones out. They were so
blood curdling.
Blood curdling.
They were legitimately blood curdling. Can you imagine being there and hearing those?
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say for Emily DeRaven in this episode is that she showed more nuance in her performance in this episode of Lost than she has in the entire series of Once Upon a Time.
And that's not her fault.
Yeah.
They don't write it for her.
But Ethan, I would assume he was the guy who attacked her if the attack happened to begin with, which it might not have. It might have just been some sort of weird, spooky fever dream like that opening scene. A stress dream. And I mean, Jack had, like you said, it was textbook anxiety dreams, around the time women are about to give birth and stuff. About people hurting the baby because, they're subconsciously thinking, I have to protect the baby and get it out and all this stuff. So I'd assume we'll probably get some sort of assertion on that one way or the other as to whether the dream was real or fake. But he does seem to have an interest in the baby.
It seemed a little more real. Mm-hmm. After you keep going, like once you get that reveal, you go, oh no, that happened.
Yeah.
That happened. There may not have been a needle. I didn't see a needle. I saw more of a knife.
Yeah, which in the first dream, the opening dream, it was Locke and he was sharpening his
Locke
knife.
was creepy as heck.
Like, I'm wondering why Locke was in that dream. Was it just she doesn't trust him or was it something more?
Well, I want to know who was the person running around with the baby in the first dream. Mm-hmm. Because I thought it was Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's the person she trusts the most, though she didn't trust anybody at that point.
Don't trust people. They'll steal your baby.
No.
That's the lesson I've taken away from this.
No.
Steal the baby.
Okay.
Steal the baby. I know, but I'm assuming that Ethan is probably part of the others, or
the island people, as I'm calling them.
The island people, or he could be something else. I do have some theories coming up about how he might be more connected to the events of this episode than we realize. And I'll just leave that as a tease for now.
Oh, okay. What do the island people want with Claire's baby? Why are they against Claire having a baby? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Where did Ethan go when he was supposed to be getting Jack? Because he obviously wasn't going to get Jack.
He was running around because he looked really sweaty.
I'm thinking he ran back to the people, the island people, to tell them that it was almost time for her to have the baby. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, like I said, Claire obviously recognized him because she sort of like freaked out a little, was like clinging. And you could tell that Charlie realized that she was very uncomfortable with Ethan. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is Charlie going to have to like hardcore defend her? Like, is he going to have to pick up a stick and stab Ethan? Because
use those junkie muscles.
Yeah, right? She just found out about it. She's like, what? You're a drug addict? Because the island people are probably pretty awesome fighters. Mm-hmm. And Charlie's a drug addict. So, I don't know. Like, I just want to know, why did the island people want the baby or not the baby? Like, if this is the safest place for this child, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Because,
Michael Lucero in the chat room points out that in the dream with Locke, he had one black eye, one white eye.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either. But
that's still creepy.
My second watch through was on an iPad mini, so that might have had something to do with it. But okay, so you bring up a very good question, though. What is important about this baby? And I think the answer lies in the psychic, in the psychic's true nature. Now, it was very suspicious how at first he wouldn't read for her at all, but then he was completely cool with it the next time she came over and saw him.
I don't think he was cool with it. She sort of, the more she kept pushing.
But it seemed like he was against it on like moral grounds when she first came to him, and he didn't care about the money because this was so bad. He gave it back
the second time too.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm just saying that it felt almost like he gave in a little too easily when she came back. So I'm starting to think, maybe he has some ulterior motives here. And it leads me to believe that she became useful to him for some reason. But why? Okay, now the baby seems pretty important in the grand scheme of things. I'm wondering, maybe if Claire doesn't raise it, will it become like a Rosemary's Baby level threat, like Antichrist Baby or something?
Oh.
Because, the dude seemed really concerned about it. And
Yeah,
why
that
would a
it
random...
needed her goodness.
And why would a random psychic care that much about a baby growing up to be, I don't know,
Hitler,
a thief or something like that? Obviously, this baby is really important. It seems like he was so adamant about this. He bugged her, like they said on the phone, for months about it, about, trying to fix the situation, that it seems the baby needs to be really important, I think, to have this make sense. So my theory is that the baby's actually, and we see at the end, the baby's important to Ethan. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if maybe the psychic is working for Ethan and was working for him to guide Claire onto the plane so she can crash on the island so he can take the baby after it's born. I wonder if maybe this is the start of seeing Ethan or the others reaching out into the lives of all of the characters we've met so far and manipulating them onto the island. That's just what I'm thinking. Like, it feels like Ethan or whoever Ethan's with, if he cares this much about the baby, then he must know the same thing that the psychic knew. Henceforth, the psychic was probably working for him to affect this. What do you think?
I am, for once, a little speechless here.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't see the psychic working for the people on the island. Mm-hmm. I don't see that. See, what I was interpreting was that, what the psychic was seeing was like any scenario that was running, if the baby wasn't raised by Claire, they would just become something absolutely evil and, like Hitler-like. Mm-hmm. And that, her nature is what is going to save it. And this was the only way to guarantee that she would be the one to raise the baby was... Mm-hmm. That he saw the crash months on the second reading. Yeah. Which is why that was the plan.
Yeah, and that's definitely the on the line explanation. That's sort of the idea that her and Charlie come to at the end of the episode. But I don't know. I feel like there's more to it.
There's always more to it.
Michael over in the chat room mentions that that's not the last time you see the psychic, by the way. He comes up in an episode when you'll be least expecting him.
So next week?
Maybe he was back 3 episodes and we just didn't see him.
I'm not rewatching it again. Okay.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about Hurley?
Hurley's census for the win. Okay, I still don't understand why this was not done earlier. Mm-hmm. They obviously had the manifest when they were taking care of the dead from the fuselage and marking them off there. Why didn't they at least go around and figure out who was there? I mean, if they know who wasn't there, they should know who was there. And just to confirm that they have everybody and, somebody didn't get lost in the jungle as, Parkman did.
Yeah.
Not called Parkman.
The pilot.
The pilot.
In the pilot.
Why did this take weeks and an attack for them to think, hey, we should do this. Mm-hmm. We should, be organized.
Well, I think a big part of it was that they were just trying to
live.
Build a sense of community and stuff, and calling people out. And we'll get into Boone's reaction to it in a little bit. Yeah. But and trying to get information from them and acting like you don't trust them is not necessarily a great way to build a community.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is it's sort of the reason it came off that way was because it was done because of the attack. If they'd have done that, week 2 or even like week 3 when they started moving to the caves and stuff like that, it would have been more like, hey, we just want to know who's here. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just to know, if somebody does go missing, who lives at the beach, who lives at the cave, who's, the usual back and forth. Everybody knows that this is the doctor's name. This is this person. Mm-hmm. Like, this is Sawyer. We leave him alone. He's, Templeton-y. Which also, yay to him for just giving over the manifest. Hurley's approach to that was absolutely perfect. He's like, listen, I could barter with you, but you should just give it to me for the good points.
Yeah, I feel like the torture kind of chilled him out a little bit. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A little bit.
Yeah. And how does just knowing who everybody is help figure out who the crazy person was?
Oh,
He's wanted to do that because, to figure out, well, we don't know all these people. You don't even know. My name's not actually Hurley, blah, 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 blah. Sure, but how does knowing everybody's name and where they're from help you figure out who attacked the pregnant woman?
Well, I think his thought process wasn't necessarily so much solving the Claire mystery, but the Claire mystery made him realize that in situations like this, there's no way to kind of get an account of everybody because we don't have documentation about who everybody is.
Carry your papers.
We don't know who's here.
Right.
So we can't be like, okay, let's make sure everyone's here, and then the person who's not here is obviously the one who's causing trouble or whatever.
Right. And then how did Jin and Sun talk to him, or did Hurley talk to Sun when Jin wasn't around to give all the information, which we haven't seen them?
He just wrote down those two.
The Korean people in the corner.
Yeah,
So, there's that.
But yeah, I definitely feel like it was fortuitous that he decided to do this right before they got the revelation that there were other people on the island too. Like it'll be helpful moving forward, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As they try and suss out who's in the group.
Though in reality, they should already. I mean, there's only 46 of them. Like that's really not that many people.
Name 46 people right now.
Don't make me do that. I can do it, but I don't. Then I'm like calling 46 people out.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. No, but you know what I mean though. It's just like 46 people is only 46 people, but at the same time, it's 46 people, and when you're concentrated on a bunch of other crap going on, it might not be that easy to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But we have plenty of more stuff coming up here. Why don't you go ahead and tell them about our contest, Anne-Marie?
That's good. It's going to be over.
Oh, is it going to be over?
Took it out.
Okay. So just, we love
Hey,
it.
we had a contest. Did you win? I don't know.
You'll find out at the end of March. But we do love it when people go and leave us iTunes reviews. We haven't got a ton recently.
We haven't.
If you could go over to iTunes, leave us a quick review. We'd really appreciate it. It'll really help us grow the audience as we're putting these episodes out and everything. We'd appreciate it. Okay,
Yes, please.
Anne-Marie, why don't you tell them about the Patreon?
Okay, I'll tell them about the Patreon. That I can do. Patreon.com/universebox. This is a great way to help support all of our podcasts because really it is.
We have a new page.
We have a new page. Oh yeah, they updated it.
Yep.
We haven't really looked at it yet. Sorry. But this is a way to support all of our podcasts. We're So Lost, Disney Passholder Project, Greetings from Storybrooke, and Legends of Gotham. We now have 4 podcasts.
Yes.
Regularly scheduled podcasts. We have no life. This is what we do. But we really do appreciate any sort of a donation you can give us to support our addiction.
Yeah, in those 4 podcasts are Greetings from Storybrooke.
I said them.
Legends of God. Oh, did you?
Do you listen when I speak?
Did you say the Disney Passholder Project?
Are you kidding me? That's mine.
Okay. Well, there's just so much content. It's hard to keep track. But you know who does keep track? Our 27 patrons currently giving us $138 a month. We love each and every one of you, and we want to thank you so much for supporting us.
Yes, thank
over
you guys
on Patreon.
so much.
Come join the Cool Kids Club.
We're going to be doing a hangout soon.
Yeah, probably.
But by the time this airs, we'd have done like 3 more.
Either tomorrow night or either Friday night or Sunday night. We'll be doing patron hangout where we hang out with you guys.
You can call in. We
drinks.
can talk. We definitely have the drinks.
But if you want to support all this stuff, cool stuff we're doing, patreon.com/universebox. And we want to thank each and every one of you yet again.
Hugs and kisses.
Yeah, and you can get the link to that in the show notes at we'resolost.com.
True story.
Yes. Okay, so now before we get back to everything.
I seriously almost went, and on to the news. No.
No news.
Nope,
no news.
There is nothing new.
There's nothing new in the world of Lost, unfortunately. Although I did finish season 2 of The Leftovers, which is done by Damien Lindelof or whatever, who did Lost. Really good.
Tangent.
Really good. Yeah. Michael Lucero always calls in to kind of talk us down if we didn't like the episode or kind of give us some more context if we did like the episode, which we did.
We did.
So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and do that for us right now?
Mr. and Mrs. Meeks, we've met before, and I can tell you, this is important. It is crucial that you yourselves host this podcast. This podcast hosted by anyone else, anyone other than you. Danger surrounds this show. Your personalities, your spirit, your sense of humor must be an influence in the development of this show. There is no happy life. Not for this podcast. Not without you.
It's intense.
Hey, Bill and Anne-Marie, it's Michael.
Hey.
Wow, this was a great episode.
Oh, yeah?
I love that it takes some of the expectations from past episodes, that it's just going to be another character-focused episode that's pretty light on plot. Some flashbacks about Claire, a seemingly unimportant series of nightmares, and then that ending. So creepy. So Ethan is the first of the others that we meet, but he's definitely not the last. And his creepiness is pretty indicative of the others.
Is that a spoiler? That he's part of the others?
No, I think it's pretty obvious.
Okay.
He wasn't on the
General.
plane. He wasn't
I
with the
would
French
say.
woman. I'm going to keep cutting Michael off. Go.
Which is one of the reasons why I love them so much. Again, like I said before, they're one of my favorite aspects of this show. So what does Ethan want with Claire? That's something you might have to wait a little while to find out, but you'll definitely eventually learn more about that. Also, it looks like Anne-Marie got another item from her lost wish list, since Hurley is finally finding out everybody's names, learning a little bit about them. We also learn
should have kept
Hurley's
a real
own
list.
real name in this episode, Hugo Reyes. And sadly, this isn't really a spoiler since it's not about what happens in the show, but what doesn't happen. But we never really do learn the story or reason behind the nickname Hurley. One of Lost's great unsolved mysteries. But another aspect of Hurley that I think is worth commenting in this episode is his scene with Sawyer when he gets him to give up the manifest. I think it's interesting because it hints at a backstory that never actually ended up panning out. Again, I can tell you this because it's not something, it's something the writers originally planned for the character, but they never actually went ahead and did. Originally, the plan with Hurley was that he was going to be the world's best repo man. The idea was that he had such a charming, down-to-earth, everyman personality that he could talk anyone into giving him anything. And not by conning people like Sawyer and not by tricking them, but just by being upfront and being himself. And I think that could have been interesting, but the writers said they never could figure out an idea to really make that idea work in the story. Again, that's very far from what his actual backstory is, but you'll have to wait a little while longer for that. Another thing I really like about this episode is the subtle wordplay that you don't really see or realize the first time you watch the episode. But the title itself, Raised by Another, it refers to the psychic's claim that the baby shouldn't be raised by anyone other than Claire, but it can also be read as raised by an other, since Ethan himself is one of the others. A similar wordplay occurs when Malcolm is telling Claire that she mustn't allow an other to raise the baby. But my favorite bit of wordplay in this episode is Ethan's own name. If you actually include both his first and his last name, Rom, R-O-M, Ethan Rom is actually an anagram for other man, which I think is interesting. The writers of Lost stick stuff like that in all the time. Well, not all the time, but
Some of the time.
fairly often. All told, I'd give
catches
this
this
episode
stuff?
116 out of 123 firewood logs that Ethan was gathering in the woods. As always, thank you, namaste, and good luck.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much,
Namaste.
Michael. And I am excited that we are going to get Hurley's backstory at some point because I want to know.
I
his
was afraid he
backstory.
was going to, and you will never get Hurley's backstory.
You'll only know him in modern day.
And then I'd have had to throw something. I'd have started mad tweeting, I think.
You know what makes me want to throw something?
What?
Some weak writing, I thought, in this episode, in terms of Claire's boyfriend, the painter, the artist. First of all, obviously, the character as written, total jerk.
Yep.
Claire wanted to get rid of the baby, and he
Right.
convinces her to keep it, then changes his mind. In the changing of the mind is where I kind of have the issue. His heel turn. From Claire's reaction, it seemed like it came to her as a total shock to her. Like they had just been going along happy, preparing for the baby, and then just one day, like this.
Right.
And it shocked me as a viewer, too, considering how into the idea he was
Right.
at the beginning.
Right.
I don't feel like his action in the final scene with him was motivated very well. It felt like they needed the character to do what he did So he did it, but they didn't put a lot of thought into the why of it. I just wonder, how long had they been together? I mean, there was very authentic love in that first scene and authentic caring on both their parts towards each other. And considering that, I mean, obviously she might have been a little distracted with the baby stuff, but how did she not see it coming? Because it seemed like it came completely out of left field to her when he came in and she was hanging the drapes and he just like dropped the bomb. I just, maybe things would have turned out differently if that psychic had given her reading. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, I just felt it felt like a plot point and not a character decision.
I don't know, because I got the impression he was a loser from the beginning, actually, because she even was so surprised that he wanted anything to do with this baby. And I mean, she even says, she's like, I knew you would do this. I knew this would happen. Once she had finally put her heart and soul behind the whole I'm having a baby thing, and then he switches on her, it seemed like he was the type of person who would randomly just change his mind, no matter how important
but
it was.
At the same I don't know. I don't think that type of person is necessarily the same type of person who'd be all gun-ho at the beginning. Like, that type of person would be like, oh, okay, great. Okay, whatever you want to do. And then they just slowly back away over the course of a couple months. They wouldn't be like, no, we're keeping it. We're doing this. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, like he was in the beginning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It was a point of contention I had, but I can see how. On the other hand, in real life, if I heard about this happening, I wouldn't be that surprised.
And it's just because you didn't see how it happened. We don't know. You never know what happens behind closed doors.
Very true.
Or when the camera's off.
Maybe he didn't want drapes. Maybe he wanted Venetian blinds. And she was like, that's it. Done.
Drapes make me an adult with my $5 an hour at the fish fry place. Michael does point out that I think she did know it was coming. I think she actually says, I knew this would happen, doesn't she? Yes, she does. She does say that.
She does.
Just saying. She knew it was coming. She knew it was coming before it even happened.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, hold on. This point's long and rambly. All right.
Excellent.
5 favorites. All right. For someone who was willing to give up their baby multiple times, including 2 minutes after she found out she was having the baby, Claire was very, very attached to her unborn child throughout, the series so far. We have always seen her very loving and concerned with her belly. When the baby didn't kick for a while, and then she had Jin's magic sushi and it kicked, talking to the baby, deciding that it was a he. But in all of her flashbacks, she wants nothing to do with the baby. She didn't want to have a baby, minus that brief moment in time when she was hanging up blinds. Even when she finds out she's pregnant, it's Thomas who convinces her to keep it. Is this all because they are stranded on the island and she's just like, okay, I guess I'm doing this because
I'm stuck with the baby
I
now.
got no one to give the baby to now. But she was loving even when there was still a real chance that they could be rescued, which makes that even weirder to me. Like, is it part of the magic of the island?
They kind of
that
made
sort
her...
of, manipulated her brain into going, yes, I'm going to do this. I've got this. Me.
Well, I mean, I think even, if a mother to be is planning on giving the baby up for adoption, there's still, some feelings there. And I mean, at a point when you're on an island pretty much all by yourself, I mean, within a group, but by yourself, I think, you'd be more inclined to lean into those feelings, because if the only companionship you have is the kid swimming around in your womb, I mean, you're probably more likely to kind of embrace those feelings than, push them away because you have to give up the baby soon.
Maybe.
Or maybe she just wants her $12,000. She's like, I got to keep this kid safe so I can get my money.
Nah. She wouldn't have been the way she was if it was like that. Michael says, if you recall, in the pilot, Kate said she sewed the drapes in her apartment. Second mention of drapes in the show. What does it mean?
Drapes, the greatest mystery on Lost.
Apparently.
Guaranteed. Okay, and Michael brought this up in the chat room earlier, but I wanted to mention it briefly too. Just because it rang funny to me. 10 years on. Boone's accusation to Hurley when he's going around collecting the names, where he calls what Hurley is doing his own little Patriot Act, which is a reference, if you're too young to remember, to a George W. Bush era law that was passed that allowed a lot of collecting of data on Americans and things like that, and brought about things like the no-fly list and this, that, and the other, all in response to 9/11. And it was a very...
If you're not familiar with that, you seriously need to go to school.
When this show came out, which I believe was immediately post, or maybe even during the tail end of the 2004 election, it was a big deal. It was a big liberal talking point. The Patriot Act was bad. Privacy was important. It was like on a list of 10 important things to the left side of the aisle. It was probably number 1 or 2.
Yeah, 2004.
But 10 years on, watching this today, it sounded kind of weird to me because I mean, this is not a big liberal issue anymore. In fact, a lot of times the left side of the aisle is like, oh, in the age of Google, in the age of Facebook, you can't expect anything to be private. And they're kind of arguing the opposite side of it. So sadly, because I'm a big I'm a big privacy advocate. Even though, I live my life online a little bit, but, things that should be private, I want to keep private. I'd like to keep private, but his comments here just stuck out like a sore thumb to me. And,
yeah, but I mean, there's always going to be something that dates a show, because they're going to slip something here or there that is pop culture-y.
Yeah. And
knowing that
ironically, in a sense, to feel modern. They put that in at the time because they want to feel modern, but it just kind of dates the show moving forward.
But they know it's going to date the show moving forward. So did the laptop battery.
Yeah.
That they were able to use. So there's that. Sorry.
Yeah, it was just something that popped out to me as kind of weird and odd, and something that put a stark reminder in my mind that we're watching a show now for the first time that's 10 years old. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay. You done?
Yes,
you
I'm done.
This?
Yep.
Why is Charlie the only one who cares about Claire and the baby? Why? I know I said this last week, but is there not a woman on this island who has given birth? Well, now we know there's Danielle, but I don't know if I want to ask her anything.
Well, he's just been so long without heroin. He's kicked that addiction, and now he has this addiction to love. Might as well face it.
Okay. But I just really, really hope that some baby preparations actually start in the next episode because baby's coming.
Yeah.
Somebody make a diaper. Please. The baby cannot wear leaves.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I definitely feel like, you know what I was thinking, actually?
I don't. Can you tell me?
I'm beaming it to your head. I know. What I was thinking was that maybe now that he's kicked the heroin addiction, he's trying to emulate his brother Liam and, settle down as well as he can on an island. Maybe that's his attraction to Claire, and that's why he keeps kind of pressing her to, if not be romantic, at least be closer. Emotionally close.
He was a good Catholic boy before. He was a good person, literally, except for the heroin.
Yeah.
So other than that sweet heroin, he's a good person.
Sweet heroin.
Sweet heroin. And now that he has kicked that, it's cleared his system and all of that. I think he's reverting back to those good ways. He can't present himself really in that fashion because they're on an island. No one's making clothing yet. But yeah, I mean, he's doing the best he can. And I think that's something that pre-heroin Charlie probably would have done. Yeah, he'd have reached out to try and help someone.
I also thought it was interesting that, he's kind of she's like, you're sweet, but no, for a lot of the episode. And he's kind of like in this friend zone kind of situation.
Yeah, he was friend zoned.
And I thought it was just a funny juxtaposition because, everything we know about his life prior to the island, that was not the case in his life. Right. He was never in that situation. And maybe that's part of the attraction too. Maybe it's the fact that she's not fawning all over him because he's a super huge rock star and everything like that. Maybe that he's kind of like, well, maybe if I get her to like me, then she'll like me for me and not.
She likes me for me.
Not because I've pal with Pavarotti or because I'm such a hottie, all that stuff. But, so I wonder if that might be part of it too. That might be part of the reason.
That might have been originally because he was still on the tail end of the sweet, sweet heroine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really that anymore. I think he legitimately just wants to help her, but not necessarily save her the way that she presents it.
Oh yeah, and the thing with that too is she kind of gets really offended when these people are trying to help her. If anyone on the island needs help and needs protecting and needs guidance from, say, medical professionals right now, it's her.
Right.
And she's just dismissing it all out of hand. And I understand, late trimester pregnancy and stuff. It's a very emotional time for a woman, and it's a very confusing time because you have all these...
Was this very emotional during your third trimester?
Yes, very, very. That's when I got the tattoos. No, but
that's not good for you.
These hormones are pulling you this way, that way, and the other. All sorts of natural instincts are kicking in. You're still the same logical being you've always been, and that's pulling against you. So I mean, I understand where she's coming from. At the same time, maybe take the sedative. Maybe,
my God.
Maybe
I was
listen
just going,
to Jack
just take
for a bit.
it. But think of it this way. She's thinking, if I take this sedative and it knocks me out, I'm not going to notice when somebody's attacking me. That's her thought on it.
Very true.
And I completely understand. Like, in her situation, I'm not sure I'd have taken the sedative. In my own pregnancies, I'd have taken them gladly. But
by the same token, at this point, she's alerted the group to the fact that, but
the group doesn't believe her. Charlie's the only one
being attacked. And
Charlie's the only one who believes her.
Very true. Very true.
So there's that.
Yeah,
I feel like that was a really big emotional,
But you did get some resolution on Claire.
I got something.
Or at least you got an introduction to Claire.
I got an introduction.
Claire 101.
I was going to say, I got the primer.
Yeah. Okay, so Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Out of 37 broken pens, how many broken pens do you give this episode?
34.
34? Why?
34. It was, I think, a really good episode. I feel, like we said, this was one of the best ones. To connect the flashback to the present day. I thought that was the best to make the flashback still relevant, not just a history. It's relevant. And yeah, I like Emily DeRaven, and it's nice to have some women-centric episodes because I'm noticing more and more that they are less and less. I don't know. There's a lot of male-centric on the island. Yeah, I know you don't see it.
Yeah, I feel like it's split pretty evenly, especially like in terms of like character screen time even. It'd be interesting to go through and just like time it out and see, for sure. Because I think you could argue that the Sun and Jin episode is really more Sun's story than Jin's.
It was meant to be Sun's story.
Yeah. Like Michael Lucero in the chat room, by the way, gives it 37 or 34 broken pens.
Oh, we agree.
What do you think? Do you think that the pens were because I mean Claire saw them as a sign that she shouldn't sign the paper? Do you think it was a sign, or do you think it was just crappy pens? Elevation problem with the ink coming out.
Based on this show, I think it was a sign.
You think she saw the sign?
And it opened up her eyes, and she is happy now.
And she lost $8,000 in the
12.
baby trade.
12.
No,
because she was supposed to get 20.
She was supposed to get 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, I'm gonna give it like 32. Because I really liked it. I really liked the Claire backstory. I really liked the Ethan reveal. I felt like the scene with Sayid was an info dump, which kind of put me off in the last couple minutes. Like the first time I was watching it, I found myself like going for my phone during that scene because it was like, oh yeah, I know all this, whatever. And I don't know. Like I said, I had some problems with a little bit of the writing in Claire's backstory, particularly related to her boyfriend. I feel like if we don't get more motivation than what we saw on the screen. I'm walking away just a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know what would satisfy me with it. I'm trying to think of the scenario. Maybe if we had one more scene where we saw him starting to wear down about it, like he was like,
Maybe.
okay, yeah, and then we get the next scene with the drapes and all
Right.
that. But yeah, good stuff. And we don't have any listener feedback this week. If you want to react to what we've said about this episode or talk about future episodes, just label it clearly.
Yes, please.
Email us, we're so lost podcast at gmail.com. The Facebook is facebook.com/we're so lost. The Twitter's at we're so lost. Go ahead and hook us up on there. You can get notified when we're going to record an episode.
Whoop, whoop.
And the voicemail number is 424-274-2352. Again, that's 424-274-2352. One last question from the chat room here. Michael says, Bill, did you watch all of season 1 when you watched it 10 years ago or just parts? How far ahead did you watch then? I remember seeing all of season 1. I remember, like, honestly, I passed the stuff with Sayid last week. That's probably the thing I remembered most clearly. The other stuff, I remember. I don't want to say exactly what I remember, but I remember some elements of the finale and some elements of the season 2 premiere, but nothing that I think is informing my theory making now. And it's been a lot of years. Lots happened since then. I don't remember a ton of it, honestly. Like the few things I have, I think we're except until the finale, we're full up on stuff that I remember from the original. So, or from my original watch through, which was in the summer between seasons 1 and 2. So yeah, I guess that about does it. Okay, Anne-Marie, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at DeSimone.
And as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Bill Meeks. You can follow all of the podcasts we do, including Disney Passholder Project at universebox.com. And you know what?
What are you hawking today?
Why don't you subscribe to us on YouTube so you can get these episodes as they air? youtube.universebox.com.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that about does it. And you know what I thought, Anne-Marie?
What?
Wait, when you were saying, what are you hawking this week? I felt like you didn't know what was going on. In fact, I felt like we were both like I don't know, like
we're so lost. I don't know about that one.
Wasn't bad. Because I sounded lost when it happened. Awesome. Another episode in the can.
Whoop, whoop.
I like that these are getting down to about
45 minutes.
Yeah, about 45 minutes. That
Thanks,
feels
Michael.
right. Here, I have a few titles for you, Michael. We'll let you choose.
I saw the sign, and it opened my eyes, and I am happy now. Come on, they do this for books and movies, but not TV shows.
What?
The Bechdel test. We have a confession. We've never won.
Okay, Michael's going to decide the title, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
I want a TV list. Because I believe they actually even said, I think Gilmore Girls doesn't pass it, which is insane.
Waiting on Michael.
Waiting on the Michael, the Michael. Ethan Still's gonna say "Still my baby."
Steal the baby?
Still the baby.
Still the baby it is. All right, Michael, thanks for watching. Thanks for everyone who's watching this on VOD and all that. Well, that's the only place you'd hear this end part because I stopped the recording already. All right, night, guys.
Night.